Welcome to the channel. And let's start the story. 6 months passed. The first month was devoted to a single goal: opening every meridian within his body. Night after night, Euan sat in silent meditation, patiently clearing each blocked channel. Until one day, the final meridian opened. Aura no longer flowed like a faint stream. It surged freely through every corner of his body. With 5 months still remaining, Malakar turned his attention elsewhere. The foundation had been completed. Now, it was time to forge the body. Every day became relentless training for improving his strength, speed, and endurance. Each movement was reinforced by the steady flow of aura circulating through his fully awakened meridians. His muscles recovered faster. His body grew stronger with the help of his aura. The changes didn't happen overnight. They came little by little, one day at a time. His once thin arms grew stronger, and through the help of aura he can grow more his muscles as he wants. The frail body that had once drawn nothing but ridicule slowly transformed into one forged through relentless discipline. 6 months later, almost nothing remained of the boy the academy remembered. The first day of the new semester had finally arrived. The academy gates buzzed with life once again. Groups of students poured onto the campus, laughing as they reunited after 6 months apart. They talked about their training, their latest assessment scores, and the upcoming awakening ceremony that would soon decide their futures. The academy had awakened once more, but none of them realized that the person walking through those gates was no longer the same Euan they had left behind. Among the sea of returning students, one figure walked alone, just as he always had. But this time, no one would mistake him for the same unremarkable boy. He had grown taller. His once slender frame had transformed into a lean, athletic build. The academy uniform that had once hung loosely on his body now rested perfectly across broad shoulders. His face hadn't changed, yet somehow, everything about him felt different. His posture was steady, his steps were calm, and the quiet confidence in his golden eyes carried a presence that naturally drew attention. As he passed through the academy gates, a group of girls glanced in his direction. One of them paused. "Wait, isn't that Euan?" The others looked again. For a brief moment they couldn't believe it. The quiet boy from their class had changed so much that they almost failed to recognize him. A few exchanged embarrassed glances, surprised by the admiration they suddenly felt. Meanwhile, Euan simply walked past them, without slowing down, without looking back, as though none of it mattered. The reactions at the academy gate were only the beginning. The real surprise came inside the classroom. Euan entered just as he always had, calm and unhurried. He walked to the same seat beside the window, a third row, without saying a word. For a moment, the classroom fell unusually quiet. Then the whispers began. "Who's that? Wait, isn't that Euan? No way. He changed that much?" Students stared in disbelief, struggling to match the confident young man before them with the quiet, frail boy they remembered. Some couldn't stop looking. Others questioned their own memories. But through it all, Euan remained completely unfazed. He simply sat in his seat, his gaze resting calmly toward the front of the classroom. The whispers, the curious stares, the astonished expressions, none of them were worth his attention. Just then, the classroom door slid open. Professor Haldren entered with his usual stern expression, carrying himself with the calm confidence of a teacher who had stood before countless students over the past 23 years. He placed his materials on the desk, adjusted his glasses, then swept his gaze across the classroom as he began his routine attendance check. His eyes stopped on Euan. For a brief moment, confusion crossed his face. The student sitting in Euan's seat looked familiar, yet strangely different. Instinctively, Haldren released a trace of his aura, quietly examining the young man before him. And then, his eyes widened. For the briefest instant he sensed an overwhelming surge of energy, ancient and vast, powerful enough to make even an experienced instructor hesitate. But just as quickly as it appeared, it vanished, without leaving a trace. Haldren frowned. He examined Euan once more. Nothing. Only an ordinary student sat quietly by the window. Was that my imagination? For nearly 4 long seconds, Professor Haldren stood frozen at the front of the classroom. A man who had never once lost control before his students had no idea what he had just witnessed. Euan met Professor Haldren's gaze. A faint, knowing smile appeared on his face. For the first time in 23 years of teaching, Professor Haldren didn't know how to respond. "Right," He cleared his throat, choosing to set the strange encounter aside. There are more important matters. His voice echoed throughout the classroom. The monster serum assessment will begin in 2 days. A quiet wave of anticipation swept through the room. Every student knew what those words meant. Their future was finally within reach. Professor Haldren continued. Before receiving the monster serum, every student would undergo a comprehensive examination in the training hall. Only those whose bodies met the required standards would be permitted to awaken. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Out of 1,000 academy students, only 700 were declared eligible. Among them is Euan. 1 day later, the chosen candidates gathered inside the awakening chamber. Rows of towering transparent capsules stretched across the vast hall. One by one, each student stepped inside. The doors sealed shut. Among them is Euan. As the awakening process began, a brilliant light filled the chamber. And then, everything faded. Silence and darkness emerged. Until a single ray of light appeared before him. A narrow path, stretching into the endless void. Without the slightest hesitation, Euan took his first step. The world around him shifted with every stride. The light grew brighter. The silence grew heavier. And at the end of the path, someone, or something, was waiting. A solitary shadow stood in the light. He understood where he was. This was the ascension. The sacred threshold every chosen candidate had to cross. A place where one's true potential would finally be revealed. As the monster serum completed its work, a deep voice echoed across the endless cosmos. Analyzing candidate. Brilliant stars ignited across the void. A vast universe unfolded before every awakened soul. Then the voice spoke again. All awakened individuals are classified according to the nature of their aura. Most would awaken into one of 6 known paths. First is the enhancers, warriors who strengthen their bodies beyond human limits through pure aura, power, speed, and endurance. They stood at the front lines of every battlefield. Second is the emitters, masters of ranged combat. Their aura could be unleashed as devastating blasts, waves, and precision attacks from afar. Third is the manipulators, the controllers. They commanded weapons, objects, creatures, and in rare cases, even people. Victory came not through strength, but through absolute control. Fourth is the transformers, those who altered the very nature of their aura. Flames, lightning, ice and poison, even transformation itself. Their power constantly evolved, making them the most unpredictable combatants. Fifth is the constructors, creators of weapons, armor and barriers, and countless other manifestations. Everything they imagined, their aura could bring into existence. And then, the voice paused. The stars themselves seemed to fall silent. And finally, there are those who exist beyond classification. Irregulars. They obeyed no rules, fit into no known category. Their abilities could not be measured, nor predicted. Some awakened weak, others incomplete. Yet every irregular shared one terrifying truth. They evolved. Without limits, without boundaries. Their abilities continued to grow, adapt, and surpass the very system created to classify them. Because the system had never been designed for beings like them. As the ascension continued, a voice echoed across the endless void. Core aura disciplines successfully integrated. A moment later, darkness swallowed everything. And then, brilliant words appeared before Euan. Every awakened individual possessed 4 fundamental aura disciplines. Aura shield, the first line of defense. A protective layer of aura that strengthened the body. Concealment, the art of hiding one's aura. To disappear, to evade, to survive. And burst, the explosive release of aura. The source of speed, power, and combat. Aura insight, the ability to perceive aura. And uncover an awakened individual's true potential. The voice fell silent. And then, everything began to distort. Countless symbols fractured across the void. Message occurred. Error. Redefining. The ancient shadow slowly raised its head. Its voice carried across the universe. Your power was never given. The ancient shadow slowly raised its head. Its voice carried across the universe. Your power was never given. And slowly, Euan opened his eyes. His expression remained calm. There was no excitement, no surprise, only quiet certainty. Good. A faint smile appeared on his lips. Everything had gone exactly as expected. Around him, the towering ascension capsules began to unlock one after another. One by one, the newly awakened candidates stepped out into the chamber. Some were overwhelmed with excitement. Others looked confused, or frightened by the power they had just witnessed. But among them all, only Euan remained perfectly composed. Because while everyone else had just begun their journey, his had already started long ago. Thank you for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe.